Great deal of feedback through the public engagement process, and we are excited to share this with you this evening. My name is Brian Pilley. I'm a landscape architect with Studio CPG. We're a landscape architecture firm in Northwest Denver, and we have about 20 years of experience working with DPR on park projects. I'm joined tonight by Principal Heather Noyes, also with CPG, and as well as from DPR, from Denver Parks and Rec, we have Brittany White, the project manager, and community relations specialist, Laura Morales. I'd like to say I'm really proud of our team for capturing the public input and really capturing the excitement for these improvements that we've received from the public. And tonight we're very excited to show you about the results. In a moment, I'll get into the short presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat right now, or as we're speaking. Brittany is monitoring the chat and has full rights to interrupt me if any questions come up that are repeated questions or a popular question that we can answer in the moment. Otherwise, we'll cache the questions into the chat and we'll come back around and address those at the end of the presentation, and we'll follow that with an open floor for comments. We are going to have a few polling questions to answer through the meeting to let you participate and provide a little additional feedback here in this last session. And just as a matter of formality, we are recording this public presentation, and the recording and transcript will be available by Monday or Tuesday. I think we're good to get that posted to the DPR website. Most of us are familiar with Crestmoor Park, located in the Hilltop neighborhoods adjacent to Montclair and Lowry and the Washington, Virginia Vale neighborhood to the south. And the park is bound by Monaco Parkway on the east and Kearney on the west, Southmore Drive to the north, and East Cedar Avenue to the south. The first scope item in our project was to develop park improvements with significant input from the community. So over the last 3.5 months, we have, through 2 surveys, and this is the 3rd public event, we've contacted or made contact and gotten responses from approximately 500 individuals and families, and that has significantly influenced our design. The public input has been great in helping us come to kind of identifying the key features that we want to work on and improve. At Crestmoor, the second scope item, in addition to the playground, is to replace the asphalt walk around the north end of the park. Half that work had been done in the first phase, and we're going to complete that with the second phase here. The overall project schedule is approximately a 2-year process. We started this year in 2024. Our first survey was released in the middle of February. It ran through the middle of April. We had our first public pop-up event. Our first public contact event was a pop-up in the park on April 5th on a Friday evening. The second event that we had was a public open house on May 2nd at George Washington High School. And then right after that event, on the 3rd of May, we released the second survey, ran that for a couple weeks, got great feedback again from that. Tonight is our last public engagement event. We're going to present the summary of our findings. As for where the project goes from here forward, CPG and DPR will work closely together to prepare the construction documents. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll get it bid out and begin construction in 2025. It would be great if it lasted a year, but the odds are pretty good that we'll eke into the first half of 2026 with some of the finishing work on that one. So that's our anticipated timeline and when you can expect to see things happening in the park. Here is our specific, more of a detail on the public engagement opportunities that we've done over the last 3.5 months. As you can see in the green are our public contact events, culminating tonight with our virtual public meeting. The public surveys down below that and the durations that they ran. You can see that we got 550 responses doing the math right, 550 responses, and of those, 42 were unique in the second survey, so over 450 unique responses to the surveys. And in the yellow box, you can see the outreach opportunities or outreach strategies that we utilized. We put up signs in the park. We sent out flyers, hand-delivered flyers to the neighborhoods in Lowry and adjacent to the park. We put out social media blasts coordinated between our team and DPR, and we were able to also work with the District 5 newsletter and get our information, the public information, into that. And so we had a great public response. We're really thrilled about that. That brings us to our first polling event of the evening. A couple questions here. Did you attend the pop-up event and or open house? And question number 2 is, did you respond to surveys 1 and or survey 2? So go ahead and plug your answers in right now, please.
Okay. Looks like, okay, about half of you have responded. I'll give it about 15 more seconds, 10 more seconds.
If there's any questions or trouble with your polling, please go ahead and ask in the chat. If there's a snag on that.
Well, we got a number of people. I think we got 11 responses. Let's see, 10 responses. I'm going to go ahead and close it and poll, and I'll show you all the results, see who we've got in the room.
Ooh, nice. Great. Great. Can I put them up here?
Yep. So actually everyone should be seeing the results on their own
Gotcha.
screen.
Okay.
So yeah, 50-50 on if they attended the pop-up events or open house. And some people did not get a chance to respond to the survey. So that's good. We're probably getting some new faces in here today. And then a lot of people who've, seen what we've done.
Been engaged. Awesome. Thank you very much for their feedback, everyone. Thanks for playing the game. To continue on, our first public survey, we had, as we said, we had 426 individual results, which is fantastic from my perspective. It was 23 questions long, and it focused on the use of the playground and the walking trail. It focused on how the public accessed the park, and then asked about preferences on playground equipment. You can see some of the results here to a handful of the questions. The full report is available on, thank you, Brittany, for posting that link right there. In summation, the majority of people, of park users, access the park by foot. If those who use the playground tend to use it at least once a week. Seating is a very popular amenity that people enjoy and desire more of. And the walking path is also an incredibly popular amenity within the park. And the playground activities that people like most are climbing, swinging, and sliding. All got very positive responses. We took that information into the May 2nd open house. We provided 3 concepts that I will show later, and allowed everybody to comment on the survey information, the survey results that have been provided, as well as provide notes and feedback on the 3 concepts that we provided. Here are a few of the sample comments that were provided. You can see some are very in favor of a larger playground, expanding the playground. Some people are not in favor, or there was voiced opinion against how spread out concept C was, but there was also a lot of support for a lot of the types of play equipment that we're looking at in the park, as well as suggestions for alternate solutions, suggestions for expanding the scope into things like a hockey rink, as well as other suggestions. So those results are also posted with first survey summary. And then the second survey we released right after the second public open house, or the first public open house, the second public engagement event. We released the second survey asking many of the similar questions, presenting a lot of the similar information as was at the pop-up event. And so here's some of the results to the key questions. Concept B continued to be the most popular, the most favored of the playground layouts. Climbing and swinging and sliding continued to be very popular. However, with our ranked choice voting, balancing came in a close fourth. So that's also an excellent activity for all the age groups considered in this playground. And because we got feedback about people wanting multiple benches together or picnic table kind of seating, we get the idea that people have an interest in clustered seating in the park here. In addition to the feedback that we specifically asked about, we get additional feedback, additional comment. Two things that came up, two issues that had significant input for very specific improvements that are not in the original project scope, related to the north entry and the southeast entry to the park. The north entry, the feedback we got is this is a very popular location. Lots of people funnel down through the neighborhood to the north and enter the park right around this Kearney and Southmore Drive area. There is currently no pedestrian access, no paved access way from Locust all the way through Bayard on the west side. And that's over a quarter mile, almost approaching a half mile there. And so there's an opportunity here to create a low cost improvement that has the potential to help a lot of people, bring a lot of people into the park on a paved access route instead of having to go over the grass for such a width of the edge of the park. The other opportunity we have on the southeast side that came up a number of times in the public meetings, but is not part of our current scope, is that the south entry asphalt, that paved walk that's highlighted in white there, is in the same condition as the north paved sidewalk as the asphalt is in the north. And so there was a request for improvements to be made here. There are additional challenges. It's not in the scope, so the cost is we'll have to balance within what the available scope is. The improvements that we make will require us to upgrade the pedestrian ramp that's at the northwest corner there of East Cedar and South Locust. And then there's additional challenges with tree roots at the surface and accessible slopes. So we're working to see if this is an affordable solution within this project. But we just wanted to touch on it briefly because we did get a fair amount of public feedback on that. So that brings us to the three concept alternatives that we provided at the public open house. You can see concept A has the smallest footprint, still located within the existing playground itself. Concept B, we utilize the existing playground and expand that to an overlook area and focus the playground kind of around a play lawn for a greater, for more passive play. And then concept C was the dispersed playground, utilizing the existing playground footprint, but expanding the play out into the larger park along the east trail there, or excuse me, along the north trail to the north and the east. So Plan B was selected. The community had the best, most positive feedback from the community. We'll dive into this, but you can see it's utilizing the three bays of the existing playground and then expanding it to the north to an overlook and additional bays, as well as really activating that lawn space as a passive use. So that brings us to the second polling question we have. We've got three of them here this time. So what do you like best? Swinging, sliding, climbing, or balancing? The second question is, do you prefer a traditional playground or a modern playground? And you can kind of see the examples that we're using there in the middle of the slide for what we consider traditional versus what we would consider something that's more modern. And then do you prefer a bright multicolored playground or an earth tone color playground? And again, you can see on the right, the colorful play structure versus the earth tone play structure. And so we'll give you a moment here to pick your favorites there.
And you may have to scroll down to see the three questions. If you're only seeing one, it might just need to scroll down a little bit. give it a little bit more time. Okay, it is slowing down a little bit. If you're getting your answer in, do that now. I'm gonna give it 5 more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll and show you all the results. All right, Brant, you seen them?
Yep. All right. So I'm seeing that coming in with 43% of each of the vote is swinging and climbing. So love it. Yeah. Big things. Swings are still popular. Climbing is definitely very popular. Sliding will not go away at 14%. Balancing will not go away at 0%. The ranked choice voting tells us that if it's not a first activity, it's a lot of people's second. So great, but great feedback on the swinging and the climbing. We're really emphasizing the swinging in this new in this particular concept, and the climbing will be a great element as well. We can make that a unique feature. As far as the traditional play, I appreciate the 71, about a quarter, 3/4 responded for traditional play, a quarter for modern. And then however, the earth tone outscores the bright multicolor 2-1. So those are great results. Thank you everyone for your feedback on those. That is something that we'll take into consideration as we move this design forward. So over the next few slides, I'll just kind of break down the concept, the concept B here, and kind of how we see these areas laying out. The first area that we look at in the north, at the north end of the playground, we anticipate creating an overlook for views and seating and informal play. There's really a perch in the park that we can utilize to kind of capture some expansive views and views of the most of the park. Swings is the large kind of rectangular bay you see circled there. They have continued to evolve. They've been popular and then not popular and now back to popular again. And there's a lot of different options as far as group swings and accessible swings and inclusive swings. And we're looking at those and to provide a greater breadth of swing options at Crestmoor Park here. So we anticipate having traditional swings, but we also anticipate having other varieties as well. For structures and slides, kids love structures. They're packed with activity in a single element. They're a great place to affix slides and have other climbing elements, but they're great for group play. We can look at different structures for different age groups and kind of determine who's going to benefit most from a structure, but structures can also serve different age groups by their various activities. And so we see a structure being a central feature in the park, approximately in that bay there. Continuing to move to the south a little bit, the balancing and spinning are great activities for all ages. You can see little kids balancing on the beams. You can see big kids jumping from post to post or from rock to rock. All the way up through adults will engage in these activities as well. So balancing is great for every age. Spinning can be an individual activity, as you see in the lower right, or group activity. It can have accessible and inclusive options. So in this transitional area here, we definitely anticipate we would have balancing and spinning elements in the play. And then to cap it off, climbing. Kids love climbing. I'm not sure if it's a Colorado thing or if it's a generational thing. I was terrible at monkey bars, but my kids rock monkey bars like nobody's business. So, it's things that can be traditional play elements, things that are more sculptural or natural, things that are very unique play elements. And kids more and more have actual climbing wall opportunities and know how to use those very well. So, those are becoming more a part of the typical play experience. And so we see an opportunity for that as well in a unique bay, or for serving different age groups at, um, in the park as the equipment. So that is concept B, and that is where our schematic design is today. Um, just a real brief overview. We introduced the project team of CPG and Denver Parks and Rec. We got kind of the design overview and the project schedule. I gave a summary of the public engagement and what we've done to this date, as well as the plans prepared to this date. And now we've with the preferred concept and kind of an understanding of what the public is seeking in terms of their imagery feedback, we can definitely start moving forward on the design. We're really excited about that. So thank you very much for your time. I'd like to kind of turn it over to Brittany and the chat board.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate that very well thought out and comprehensive presentation. So as I continue to go through everything in the chat, just feel free to continue to ask questions there. And I'm just going to go through all the comments because we didn't get a ton. So I think we have time to kind of work through them. So we got a comment from John. Thank you, John, for bringing up the permitting on the of the fields. And we've heard this before from other community members. When the fields are all in use, there's just a lot of traffic coming in and out of the park, and without the sidewalks, folks are walking in the street and it can be dangerous. So I'm going to pass that feedback onto our permitting team, Chris Ryan and her group, and hopefully that we'll get a response back to you soon. But always feel free to follow up with me via email too. So Jonathan Palmer also asked a question about, so this was in response to what Brian was saying about, the southeast entrance. We're going to do our best to change that over, but it's a little bit outside of kind of the dedicated scope that we have. And so John was wondering, with the additional scope outside the original plan, is there an opportunity to fundraise so we don't lose funds for the playground? So absolutely fundraise, like always encourage. We love fundraising. And if there's a big effort, and we can definitely add more to wherever you guys say the funds should go. However, I want to make sure it's really clear that the playground itself is fully funded. There will be no impact to that funding whatsoever. So don't worry, we're not gonna lose anything there. And then we had a couple of questions about the bathrooms. So the bathrooms have been locked for quite a while, and I know this is really frustrating. Basically what's happening there is the sewer line, which runs from, I don't know if we can see a cursor or anything, or Brian, yeah, can you point to where the bathrooms are? And yeah, so the restrooms are located just south of the existing playground, and then the sewer line actually runs like right through all of those trees along the ball field and then out to South Kearney. So all of those tree roots have impacted this very old clay pipe over time. Our facilities team has scoped and cleaned this out over and over and over again, and unfortunately it's not that it's clogged anymore, it's just collapsing on itself and it needs to be replaced. That is not an inexpensive item to be absorbed into the operations budget, and so they are trying to identify funding to take care of it. That funding, because it's a maintenance issue, is totally different than our funding for the park improvements. So we actually are not allowed to take any funding and do that, or vice versa. So we just need the facilities team to prioritize that. And I don't know where it is on their list. I do know that there's quite a few of these very old sewer lines throughout our system. But I can try to get a little bit more information on kind of where it is and when they think they might be able to get that done. Thank you, Meredith. We have Meredith Levy with us here. She is our Parks Recs Advisory Board member. Meredith has been so integral in our community outreach, and we just really appreciate her and her energy and getting her neighbors involved. And I think that, you know, we have had such great engagement here because of Meredith and the rest of the community. So thank you. So, we had a question from Jay about funding and where the funding is coming from. I'm going to send out a link to our project page. So this is if you guys ever have any questions about Denver Parks projects in general, please visit our website. You just type in Denver Parks projects into any browser and it should bring you here. And the link I just sent actually is for the Crestmoor Park project specifically, but that page will have all of the information you need for any Denver Parks page or project. And then this page is specifically has all the information for the open house, survey 1, survey 2. We will add this recording here hopefully early next week. And then we'll also post any updates on the project here. So we have, as Brian mentioned, quite a bit of time between now, which is kind of the end of community engagement, till you guys are going to see us again on site actually building this. So any updates we'll post here. Everyone's always welcome to shoot me an email as well if you have any questions about where we're at. As Brian said, we are hoping to wrap up early in 2026. However, before we really get a contractor on board, we just don't know what that construction schedule looks like. So once we have a contractor and they provide a schedule, we know what the time frame is going to be. Before then, it's just difficult to pin down. Yeah, so Dory, thank you for that a comment about the aging wood playground structure. I grew up on a wood playground. It was at my elementary school, which was in upstate New York, and we loved it. Everybody's parents actually worked on it, and so I remember as a kid, like you know, kids would be so proud, like, my dad built this part of the slide and my dad worked on this tire swing, you know, or mom or whatever. But so we loved it, but that playground has long since been gone now. And they just, it's a safety issue. We get a lot of complaints about splinters and that kind of thing. And I know at least a few of us here on the DPR and Studio CPG side have taken our own children there and gotten our share of that experience as well. So, so thank you guys for all of your awesome comments. I appreciate it. Our playgrounds do cost a little bit more than that. If we have budgeted this because to the dollar amount we have, because we have done several of these projects and we know what that costs. So we're really looking at all of our, basically every single bid that we get, regardless of if it's awarded or not, goes into a system that is telling us exactly where costs are all the time. This was really important, as you can imagine, through COVID and working through supply chain issues and escalation and inflation and all of those things. So we try to keep a really good close tab on costs.
Okay, and I don't see any raised hands, so I think we are good. If there is someone who wanted to say something out loud that we have not addressed so far, you are welcome to do that. We are early at 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah, that's a great point, Meredith, that you put in the chat about inclusivity. We used to think of inclusivity as like a extra thing that we could provide, and we've very much reversed or changed that thinking as like it is an integral piece of every single thing we do. And so we will very much have a focus on that. And I think you saw some of the equipment that Brian showed, roller slides, inclusive swings, like those kinds of things. We're constantly thinking about different ways to make sure that all kids are engaged. We also recently renovated the Cook Park playground, which is at Monaco and Mexico, or between sort of Florida and Mexico. And that one is also has like a very that was integrated into every design decision that we made in that playground. So please go check that out if you haven't seen it.
Oh, okay, and then Jay, you've been able to unmute?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all for kids and parks and playgrounds, and I just can't get past this cost thing. I don't know. Can you explain to me what $1.2 million will buy in terms of slides and swings? I mean, I built playground sets for my kids and for the, so maybe it's 5 times bigger, but it would be nowhere near $1.2 million. Can you tell me what $1.2 million buys? What does a swing cost, or what is a I just seems an outlandish amount of money to me.
Yeah, when I first started in this profession, I was also surprised, also at how long everything takes. I think that's some of the feedback we've gotten too. Our city process is just a lot quicker than what it is on like the residential side. But the 1.2 million is for the whole construction. So it's not all for the playground, but that is what they cost. Typically what
Well,
part of
can I
that is
interrupt you
also
for 1 second? They told me it was 1.8 million was the budget, and I questioned how much of that was for the walks and how much is for the playground. And I fully expected that most of it would be for the walks, and I was just absolutely shocked that 2/3 of it was for the playground. Am I wrong?
yeah,
Was I
no,
given
you're not.
wrong information?
No, you're not wrong. So, one of the big items that is different between like a residential play set and a commercial play set is the surfacing. And so that's pretty expensive, regardless of what we do. And that's a big difference between kind of a residential play set and a public one.
Well, that's why I ask, is there some way we can get a breakdown of what each piece costs or what each surface costs? I mean, I'm in that park 3 times a day, every day. And I see that, and that playground is really not in that bad condition. Yeah, it is wood, and maybe the wood can be replaced, but it just boggles my mind. It's like 100 times more than I would have guessed for a playground. And is there some way to get a more accurate picture of what all these things are? Because we have the money. I understand it's fully funded, but maybe you don't need to spend it all on that. I mean, it just $1.2 million for a playground for, I don't know how many kids play in that. Do you have any idea how many kids play in that playground every day? It just seems like an awesome amount of money.
We do know because we did those surveys that we have a lot of people coming to check out the playground.
How many kids are in the park are playing in that thing every day? I don't think you mentioned that, or maybe I missed it.
So we actually use a program called Placer AI. And so this is actually going to kind of tie into the restroom question a little bit here too. We do have some data that we can pull for you on that if you want to send me an email, Jay. It can't be specifically to the person or anything like that, but they can provide like general statistics. It does go off of your cell phone though. So if there's one parent with multiple children, it's going to count one person. In the park, assuming the children do not have cell phones. So it's the best information that we have now. But we can get that to you if you like. But Placer AI also tells us how many people are in the park. And while we do have these restrooms closed now until we can figure out the funding for that sewer line fix, there will be portalettes placed in the park. So there will be some kind of facility for folks using the permitted fields and the tennis courts.
I think that's great. We do need restrooms in there and we need other things, but I just, can you give me a ballpark figure? How many kids use that playground every day?
I don't have that information
right
now.
Okay. But, can you see what I'm saying? $1.2 million is a lot of money for playground equipment. No matter what you're buying. And I just wonder if the funds can be allocated for other parts of the park or other things. And, I know there's a park in Lowry that is probably similar to this park. And I looked at the pictures of that, what was it, Cook Park or something you mentioned? And it really doesn't look much different than what we have already. It's got some whimsical children things on the sides and some of it's plastic instead of wood, but I just don't see the extra cost involved. It just seems like so much money.
So Jay, we definitely hear you, and Brittany and I will go back and see if we can pull for this specific project, what things are estimated to be for next year for construction costs. But we can also pull that data for you to see how many kids are using the playground. But I will let you know, overall in our park system, just to kind of close this up for today at least, is we are making decisions on park improvements for the entire city based on age of the playground, based on the last time the park had been updated. The need is not just for children who are using it, but for children who are coming into the neighborhood. So this is also just a thing that we are needing to make sure everything is up to the best standards, that old playgrounds get replaced, dangerous playgrounds get replaced, etc. So it is a full city equity picture we look at with every decision for where money goes. And
so
we appreciate your concerns.
Are you saying that you're talking about kids coming in from other neighborhoods into Crestmoor Park to our playground?
I am talking about the changing demographics, the changing of our city at all times, new children being born every day. So I do want to make sure we can get back to you via email with this one so we can kind of get to the next question.
Okay. That's fine. I understand. Who am I talking with well, I'm happy to talk by email or phone some other time.
Yep, so if you can email, we will put our emails in the chat.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help. Take care.
Did anyone else have any other questions?
There was just one question on next steps and where people can, what people can expect next.
So this is our last public meeting. However, you can always email me if you need any updates, and then we will keep that park project page updated as well. So I'll send out the link to that one too, just one more time. So you can check back in here. And we will, at the very least, once design is finished and we are going into construction, we'll update the website at least then. But always feel free to reach out, get in touch with me, and I can update you with exactly where we're at. And this is a community level playground, which is the same as Cook Park as well. Thanks, Laura, for throwing her emails in the chat.
All righty. Thank you, Brittany, for that. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone, for attending and asking questions. It's great to have these dialogues. It's so helpful to the process, the design process, and for us to understand where we can best use the funding. For additional information, we have posted the public survey results, the results of our 2 public engagement events, as well as the exhibits that we used for the May 2nd open house. We have posted those to the project website. And then we will post the summary of tonight's presentation, the Q&A from the chat, as well as the public survey results by about June 10th, I think, is our goal on that. So at the bottom there, to keep up with project updates, keep an eye on the webpage. You can reach out to the team here. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Brittany. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
I'll end the meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Dory.